Welcome back to the Remote No Pressure podcast. Bill, as always, it's great to see you, man.
Yeah, it's good to see you too.
It's great to see. I did see your grow room. I don't see it anymore. You got some radishes coming in, you were saying?
Yeah, just a little bit of everything. Yeah.
Now, you grew up in northern Michigan, so you grew up kind of planting stuff, right? I mean, did you guys have a big garden all the time, or not really?
Oh, not humongous. We always had a lot of beans, like green beans, yellow beans, and a big raspberry patch, but not a. And potatoes. We always had potatoes too. But that was about it.
You grew potatoes in the ground, or did you do like in those barrels? Have you seen those barrel potatoes? You can.
Like, I have seen some ideas for that. I haven't done that yet. We did it all on the ground.
Okay. Yeah. Did you have to like take those green beans and snap them, like the peas?
Oh, no. We ate most of them fresh. We didn't dry them or anything.
No. Okay. Well, cool, man. Yeah, that's interesting. You have a space for gardening in your backyard or not?
Oh, we got about a half an acre. We could. We're kind of seeing how it looks this year with the sunlight and everything too. We have to pick the right, crop for the right plot of land there. We don't have a ton of land, but we're gonna look at it.
Yeah, but half an acre is pretty big in the middle of a city, though, where you're at. That's a pretty big lot.
Yeah, we're blessed to have what we have. Yeah,
that's really cool, man. Yeah, well, hey, so as far as the COVID thing, I mean, how have you been doing with that mentally? I mean, pretty good. I mean, are you getting ready to be over it, or how are things going?
I'm ready to be done with it. Yeah, we're both doing pretty good here. We're I'm ready for it to be over, though. I'm not doing terrible because I'm still getting out once or twice a week for work or groceries. So, how are you doing?
It comes and goes. I'm just curious how long it's going to take before your mindset completely changes. It's like, what is now going back to work will be a new normal, almost like an adjustment now. It's very
that'll
odd.
be weird going back to building for 40 hours again.
Yeah. Do you think we'll see a lot of changes in the way people work? I mean, people are like, well, I guess I don't really need to be there that much.
Yeah, I bet we could. I wouldn't be surprised.
Not for your work, but I think some jobs.
Yeah. People are having to reimagine and just the way they work and how their job is done. And I'm sure like it might be more functional and more practical to do it from home in some cases. So
I
wouldn't be surprised. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons I pushed out this podcast a little bit early this week is just to spread some positive love. I spoke with Alan Crater, who was previously on the formerly on the Backcountry Hunters and Anglers board, and he had just stepped down right before we recorded this. Jon Osborn, who is the writer from Holland, Michigan, he was on here as well, smoking a pipe and just being John. And then Brian Kozminski as well. And the four of us just wanted to bring some positive vibes because it really is a head game, it seems like, especially when they say you can't use a boat motor. Like in Michigan, you can go boating. You just can't have a motor on your boat.
Yep.
So
have you found if we're able to go fishing at all right now?
Yeah, you can go fishing, no problem, as long as you're 6 feet away from each other.
Now, when did you get your license? That was my question, because my boss at work the other day, I was telling him about you could just get online to get your license, and that was blocked.
Really? You couldn't get your fishing license?
Nope. So I'm not legal right now to go fishing either.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I got mine in March, and for the people who are not from Michigan, our fishing license expire. You have until April 1st to get a new one. It's not like it expires on your birthday or anything like that. It's just like on that one day you're done. You got to go get a new one. And it was funny because when I first moved to Michigan and Texas, your license plate stickers would expire on your birthday. Or no, it would expire 12 months from when you purchased them. Okay.
Oh, okay.
But here they expire on your birthday. So I remember buying them in like April, and I'm driving around, and I get pulled over by this cop, and she's giving me a ticket, and I'm like, "What are you giving me? I just got my tags like a month ago." And she's like, "Oh, it's your birthday. They're expired." I'm like, "Oh, I had no idea." And I got like a $50 ticket, like right when I moved. Welcome to Michigan. Oh,
that was great.
But so I have my license. So I got my my fishing license before April 1st. I got it pretty early in March, actually. At the fishing shop here in Jenison, and but yeah, other than that, I mean, so I'm gonna.
I haven't tried going to a fishing store or anything anything that's open that sells licenses to see if it's possible to get it over the counter, but
And
you can't do it online right now.
Well, the thing is that the certain fishing store that I went to, and I'm not going to throw them under the bus, but it was probably a week or two after all the craziness started, and I'm not sure if they were just staying open just to see how long they could get away with it. But there were tons of people in there. I was like, "Holy cow, this is wild!" So I bought my license, and I'm gonna take my son out this week to go fishing. And then I went out last week, and I've been out a few times for steelhead and.
Any luck? Any bites?
Last week I didn't catch any steelhead. I caught 3 trout, decent trout.
Oh, nice.
But that was it. It wasn't anything too. I was only out for about 2 hours, and but yeah, it was a nice time to. It's nice just to be outside, you know. But it is what it is, you know. But I mean, yeah. So I don't know. I try to keep my opinions pretty close to is when it comes to politics and things like that, you know. But I would
not me.
You're so opinionated, Bill. That's the thing.
I really am.
No, but we'll see what happens. I wouldn't, you know, I just read this article out of LA County saying that the death rate from COVID is less than, it's like 0.1% or 0.01% or something like that.
Wow.
Because of the antibodies, you know, they were measuring, like not everyone has been tested. So it's hard to get an exact, accurate death count, like who's had it and recovered from it, you know. So they were measuring antibodies, and they think that possibly COVID had already been in LA, like as early as January. And I don't know if you remember this, but I had a really bad cold back in January. But before that, my kids had a bad cold, and my oldest son had a bad fever. He never runs a fever, and that's one of the signs of COVID. And they actually closed the local middle school here in Zeeland, Michigan, because there were so many cases of this flu, quote unquote flu, that they shut it down because it was spreading like crazy. And you just wonder, what if that was COVID? You know, what if that was, we didn't know what it was, so we just said, oh, it's the flu, because it's never been that bad before. It's never been that bad before here.
I don't know. Yeah.
So I'd be curious if my kids have the antibodies. Now, you were telling a story about someone that you knew and that knew about something in Boston.
Yeah. So I was just saying, lost my train of thought, that a homeless shelter out in Boston went through and tested all their people who were in the shop. Sorry, my cord got flung into the camera there. And all of them came back positive for COVID, but they were all also asymptomatic, so they didn't even show signs of it.
Wow. Well, so
that could also be faulty testing too.
Sure, but if all of them were showing positive, you know, that's another thing too. It's not one or two, but I just don't.
Again, where were these tests made though too?
Right, and the thing is,
and where did COVID come from?
Right. And the thing is, I'm not a doctor, right? And I'm not a specialist in infectious disease or whatever, you know, that is. But I do think this is going to go down as one of the biggest failures in American history. I really do, and I'm willing to say that. And now
but who failed?
Well, let's just say the biggest jump to conclusions of all time. I mean, overreactions. Of all times, I guess I should say.
Just giving some theories here. We're just going to talk in theory. Yeah, go ahead.
You're egging me on because I'm a conspiracy theorist. And for a conspiracy theorist, this is some things I had to explode. I'm trying to be professional. I got a text from my friend this week who said, Jeff, your banter reminds me of 8th grade. So it's like, okay, what am I supposed to do about that, Bill? And he laughed. He said the good parts of 8th grade, but things like #show the toe, you know, I don't think most adults, I don't know, maybe they do appreciate it. You know, a lot of feedback we've gotten that it's funny, you know, but do we want to dive deep into this? Because we've got a whole other 45, 50-minute episode here trying to talk about positivity. But right before we do that, let me talk to you about how the world's about to end.
That just means we're going to end on a positive note.
We're going to end on a positive note. But let me tell you something. I don't think it's as bad as they put on. And by doing this, I mean, oil prices have crashed. You know,
well, that's not just from this.
Well, what else is it from, Bill? Would you like to share?
There's a big oil war with Russia and Saudi Arabia right now. That's why it originally plunged.
But they cut their production, but no one's driving. Planes are half empty. You're not moving equipment. You're not. It's only the essentials. And well, it's going to back up on us, you know. So no one's using it. So where are you going to store all this oil? And then those are all like options for May. So I don't know. Are they going to pay us at the pump to take this gas? Are they going to, how's that going to work? I've never seen negative prices on oil, but it's just all interesting. This whole thing is wacky. And I think it was a real overreaction. Now I follow the guidelines, as best I can. I'm not out there being an idiot because I don't know. I'm not arrogant enough to say, hey, I know everything, so I try to take precaution. But then again, I don't think it's as bad as it is, and the economy has been ruined. We'll never be the same as a country, and
I don't think that's true. I think we're going to bounce back.
You think so?
Pretty quick too. Yeah.
Everyone's got their opinion, Bill. You know what I mean? And I'm going to get a hate email. I'm going to get emails about this episode of me talking, but I think it's a gross overreaction to what's happening. And I don't want to see anyone die. Just like when the flu season comes by, I don't want to hear it. And I don't want to see anyone dying from the flu. I don't like people dying, period. It's not cool. And I'm willing to take precautions. I'm not saying that I'm just going to whatever, but I don't know. I'm really frustrated too about the whole thing, so maybe, whatever. But this week on the Remote No Pressure podcast, we have Alan Crater, we have Jon Osborn, and we have Brian Kozminski, and me. And me being the normal, cynical, depressed type person that I am, was actually pretty chipper. I was really proud of myself, Bill.
Oh, good for you.
I stayed really happy. I did my part. We all have to do our part here. So, anyways. Well, Bill, what's the first thing you're going to do when it gets lifted? You're going to go to a restaurant? What do you want to do the first thing when you have freedom?
Wow. I want to go camping. I want to be able to get out in the woods. Yeah,
we'll have to go camping. We'll have to do a trout camp. Be a smallie camp or something since we didn't get to go to trout camp this spring.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, I'm very excited about this week's episode. Very thankful for Alan and Brian and Jon for joining us. And listen to the positivity, folks. Don't listen to me right now, but listen to the positivity in the episode. And welcome to the podcast. I forgot the whole tagline. Welcome to the podcast. Let's light the fire. Well, today...
Sound better?
Yeah, a little bit. Today on the Remote No Pressure podcast, I'm very excited. This is a panel discussion, which is not super normal and maybe it should be more normal. I don't know, but it is a panel discussion with Brian Kozminski, Jon Osborn, and Alan Crater, previously of Backcountry Hunters and Anglers, right, Alan?
I'm still a member, just not on the board anymore.
Not on the board anymore. Right. Well, I'm very happy to have all three of you here. And we just want to talk a little bit about COVID and what's been going on. I mean, Kaz, you reached out to me. We've talked a lot through this whole thing. We had our live event there in Holland actually canceled. We had like over 100 people, and Jon, you were involved in that one too. We had over 100 people interested in coming out to that, and it just got canceled. And then all my events in Texas with Aaron Reed and all those things that we had going, we had like 6 events that got canceled because of this, and it has affected our industry in a very dramatic way. And so we just wanted to talk because I think a lot of people are kind of depressed, kind of down on this whole thing, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about maybe some of the positive things that could potentially come out of this, as opposed to just keep kicking a dead dog around. Because me being the cynical, depressing guy that I am, I naturally just want to be ticked off and just crawl into bed and just drink beer. But I'm trying to be positive.
Is there something wrong with that?
At 1:30 in the afternoon, yes, Jon. There are some issues when you're waiting for the clock to turn noon. But yes, so. But we'll start with you, Kaz. I mean, you're really on the ground floor. I mean, you're a sales rep for Umpqua, for TFO as well. I mean, you're really on the front lines with a lot of these fly fishing, these owners. I mean, what positive things have you seen come out of this, if any at all?
The sales in the actual fly tying world is really good. People aren't running out and buying rods and reels. They're not buying big items, but sales and hooks and tying materials have been off the charts for any fly shop or dealer that's open or has any curbside or online presence. We're also very hopeful in forecasting, trying to predict that once this stay-at-home order is lifted, you and I are going to go hit the river. We've got dates to go float. And I think, maybe the destination travel, Cuba, Argentina, Alaska, those are going to be put on hold, or a lot of people might be hesitant or canceling on trips that might be at far off lodge, huge travel. But we're definitely going to see a lot of people coming up to Michigan from Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Pennsylvania, the Carolinas, wherever, just to get to some trout water.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of getting out on the water, I mean, Alan, you were previously on the board of the BHA. You're obviously still a member. What kind of positive things have you seen as far as the environment's concerned and some of those backcountry streams and rivers? I mean, are you seeing, or do you think we'll see, there's less pressure on the fish right now. There's, the streams are kind of recovering. I mean, what do you think about, what's your personal forecast, I guess you could say?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little early to say, but I mean, I think Kaz and I John and I talked about it a little bit. Some like LA is kind of one of those case studies that everybody jumps to, where you can the pollution that is typical above the city is noticeably gone, and that's just in a very short period of time. It shows how quickly nature can kind of heal itself. So I think you'll probably see that all over the place. And I think, certainly some of the rivers and fisheries have seen a lot less pressure, or at least less pressure. And that shouldn't be a bad thing for fishing coming up, for sure.
Yeah, unless it's
especially steelhead. I mean, I think the steelhead have probably seen less pressure this year than they normally would, at least in some places. And that should be really positive for probably the upcoming years for steelhead.
Unless it's Tippy Dam. Right, we got so crowded.
No, exactly, Tippy Dam.
They got so crowded they had to shut it down. So that's just kind of wild, And I hope we do see some of that. It's giving the environment, giving our families even a rest. Because I had a friend of mine, she's a hockey mom and everything else, and she's going, and she's like, my schedule is the same at home. I'm still doing the same amount of laundry, fixing close to the same amount of food. I'm just not going 24/7 after a certain time of the day. I'm not shoveling kids around, and travel baseball is really popular, and all of a sudden families are spending more time at home. And I'm thinking I'm hoping when we come out of this that we learn and maybe prioritize things like fishing, like being in the backcountry, being outdoors, because that way it's like, okay, what are those important things? It's like my best friend from college his son was an awesome athlete. He poured all this energy into him growing up, hoping he could get a scholarship, only for him to get into the 11th grade and just say, Dad, I don't want to play anymore. And he just got, and he spent his whole life chasing this dream, Yeah. And what are those important things? Quality time. And that's one of the things about the backcountry hunters and anglers, being, protecting those things, but Kaz also with you as well, being able to take people out on those trips and hopefully we'll see business actually increase in our industry. Now, John, I mean, you have a lot of downtime right now. I mean, you don't. You're still working because you're a police officer, but
oh gosh,
you're probably double the workload. But I mean, are you noticing like a lot of your author friends, a lot of your artist friends, are they producing a lot of content right now? Are they able to kind of slow down a little bit?
Yeah, that's I don't think people are buying things like art. That's kind of the extras that people buy when times are good, right? I mean, I do have a lot of friends who are artists, and I think the market's different. The private buyer who wants something for their cabin or something isn't really like looking to spend thousands of dollars on a piece of art right now. But magazines are still buying art, and a lot of the outdoor, just publications. I think they're definitely still buying art. But I mean, is that going to float you as a family and keep you, making the bills? I don't know. I mean, a lot of these guys, I don't think we've really realized at this point, what are we into it? 3 weeks, 4 weeks into it, I think you're going to see it a lot more a month from now than you do right now. I think we're right at this just leading edge of it. Right. Because right now, I think you could, if times get tough, you can still throw a bunch of stuff on credit cards and pull from savings and stuff like that if you have that. But eventually that stuff's going to run out if we keep at this for too much longer.
Yeah, John, I mean, you've authored a book on fishing. You guys hear that in your headphones? That weird reverb or whatever? Sound like Darth Vader. John, I am your father. No, but no, seriously though. But John, as far as you being on the front lines there, you're a police officer. You have a lot of stress within your family as it is. I mean, that's just a daily thing, probably with you being on the front lines and everything. But how has COVID affected? We talked a little bit before the podcast. You know, you're completely bald because you shave. You're bald by choice.
Thank you for outing that.
Let me just tell you something. If you have really nice hair and you're choosing to shave it off, I hate people like you. But I digress.
No, I don't. I have really nice hair on the sides.
Oh, okay.
My back.
Yeah, I got my back. My neck beard.
We're all wearing hats right now, which I think is really funny because I can see you guys on Facebook video here, and we're all wearing hats, probably to cover that up. But personally, John, how has this COVID thing affected you and your family?
Yeah, I mean, there's the pandemic itself, right? And how much you buy into that is everybody's own choice. Like how much, how severe it is. It's regional. How much does it affect people that members of your family? I mean, it becomes very close when it does start to affect that way. Fortunately, I don't know anybody personally who's been affected yet by that. I've definitely dealt with people who have it, but thankfully nobody in my family has it. So you're trying to keep people safe and healthy and all that kind of thing, but you can only do so much. And so on one hand, you have the pandemic itself, and then you have this other pandemic that I see. That's just the fear, the anxiety, the depression, the things like that people are going through right now. And I think that's equally as severe, if not in a lot of cases more severe for people. Now, if you're on a ventilator and you're like right on death's doorstep or something like that, that's not going to be as severe for you. But if you don't know anyone who has it, and you're just dealing with lack of motivation, anxiety about potentially getting this, I mean, that's pretty severe for a lot of people. And I've seen it. I mean, like people that won't even stick their head out their door, people that, it's just, you run into them on the street and they got a mask on and they go way to the other side of the street. And it's like, there's the humanities going out of it.
Yeah. Now, Kaz, speaking of like anxiety, speaking of those mental things, I mean, you overcame alcoholism, you overcame a lot of that stuff. Now, it wasn't during a global pandemic, but it was fishing where you really found the solution to all of that anxiety. Am I? That's part of it, But
yeah, sure. I think, and no matter what, right now, my biggest closest to me is my kids and my family, and it's keeping a positive mental attitude and keeping a positive, it's not easy. It's rough. We're doing homeschool and our schedules are changed. And my wife and I were talking yesterday how we seem more tired at the end of the day because we're doing everything out of our norm, with doing homeschooling and taking on all these other new challenges. And it's not that we're actually doing more, it's because we're doing stuff at a slower pace, but it's taking more out of us mentally. And at the end of the day, we each need to take 20 minutes and go for a walk, take the dogs and go somewhere and clear your head and come back. So I'm lucky enough, you guys know where I live, that I can go and be on a river in 20 minutes. Mm-hmm. And I don't need that much time to find some peace and quiet and serenity. And that's where the whole other issue comes up too, with the motorboat issue, with the governor saying nobody can use a motorboat. And I've seen boats on Lake Charlevoix, but you can't say to half the state, okay, everybody below M55, you can't go use a boat, but you guys above 55, that's cool. So all of a sudden, everybody down below 55 is coming up here. And I spoke with another guy who was saying, you're so lucky you've got so much good water right in your backyard. I got to drive an hour and a half to get to decent fishing. Mm-hmm. I said, that's exactly the point.
Right.
That's you got it. You know, I can ride my bike to 2 different rivers.
Now, Alan, you have an advertising business, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your day job? I mean, Kaz is a fishing guide. John's been on the podcast before. He's a law enforcement officer there. Well, what kind of work do you do? What is your day job, Alan?
So I own an advertising agency with another partner. It's an agency that we bought. I bought into it in '99 and we bought our former partner out in 2005. So it's a full service advertising agency in Grand Rapids. We do marketing for a lot of folks in the outdoor industry or travel and tourism, education, banking and finance. We have clients kind of across the board. So it is interesting to see how this is interesting is probably not the perfect word. It's affecting a lot of people. I mean, one of my bigger longtime clients over 30 years with the agency is Crystal Mountain Resort. Well, they have a lot of money going out to just keep lights on and people paid and grounds kept up, and they have zero income coming in. None. I mean, they're ramping up into their, they should be picking back up for spring and summer right now.
So how is the COVID?
Places like that have a lot of conventions going on we call this the mud season, where, April and November are typically our 2 slowest months up north.
Sure.
So
they're all conventions.
Yes.
That's gone.
So, exactly. And our plus side is the fact that this happened in April, when we were already at a time where our restaurants are the slowest. Most of our summer people are downstate or they're in Florida or Arizona, but now they can't get home. So even when up north, Boyne City, Petoskey, Traverse City, whatever, when we reopen the doors, our restaurant's going to be fully staffed? Most likely not. Are we going to see a third of our restaurants even reopen? Doubtful.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's businesses across the board.
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah.
Well, another one of my, and I don't know if we can put, this might be one of those things you need to edit out, Jeff, because I don't know if this is information that they want public, but one of my other clients and friends is Jay's Sporting Goods. They chose, they probably could have pulled off the essential business like some of the other sporting goods places have, but they chose
They completely shut the doors.
And they're, when they are able to reopen or when they choose to reopen, they're having trouble getting some of their employees back because some of the incentives with unemployment are a little too nice. And people are like, well, I could come back and work, or I could stay home and not work and get paid more.
Right.
So they're
for X amount of more weeks, right?
Right.
They're running into that. Besides what Kaz just talked about, with some of these restaurants aren't even going to be around anymore because they're not going to survive it. But then trying to get some of the employees back, that's going to be a challenge too. I mean, there's just so many challenges, and even when it does turn, and we're able to kind of maybe open some things back up again, I think there's certainly going to be pent up demand, but there's also going to be some pent up anxiety about, do I really want to go into a restaurant with a bunch of people again? How long do I wait?
Here's the other flip side and the positive side on that same token. People like you and me, who we're trying to do 10 different things right now on our downtime at home. I can't wait to get back on the job and do my job, and I'm going to give it 280%, And my wife said to me earlier tonight, she's like, you might want to consider going back to Santé, because they're going to need somebody like you that can actually walk in and do the job and help out. And I'm like, ugh. Really? She's like, I'll do it too, because we can totally clean house. And I'm like, man, no.
It's hard work. It's hard work, and you think about it. A chef or a cook, that's making a few $100s a month or a week. I'm sorry. All of a sudden, they get unemployment plus an additional $600 on top of that. They're making more money now than they were making when they were working. So it's like, wow, this is kind of nice. I'll ride this out to the end of July or however long it is. Yeah.
Just play video games.
Why not? and
Right.
it's like we're all socialists now, and I don't know if I like that. I'm definitely not a fan.
Bernie pulls out, and we're still socialists.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, there you go. But I mean, Alan, how are you dealing with the stress? I mean, being a business owner that you are, and I know Kaz, you're a business owner as well. But Alan, I mean, what are you doing to kind of to keep your mind off of those things? Because if you're losing those bigger clients, or they're saying, because like we lost all of our sponsors for this quarter for our podcast. They called me and I had invoices out to them, and they're like, look, all of this and this got canceled. And what am I going to say? Well, I already sent you an invoice. No, they're my friends, and I want them to be really successful, So what are you doing to kind of process that? How are you handling that mentally? Are you doing the outdoor thing? Are you going fishing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, a couple things. First, I'm still working every day. So we did have to reduce our number of employees. We had to reduce our monthly expenses, and my expenses are primarily people. It's a people expense kind of business. So we had to reduce our total number of employees, and then for everyone that remained, including myself and my partner, we had to cut our salaries by 20%. So we actually basically just told everybody we're going to reduce the work week by 20%, so essentially a day, and we're also going to have to reduce salaries. So that's kind of how it's being handled at work. It also, though, allows us from a work standpoint. This isn't exactly answering your question, but I'll get there. From a work standpoint, we are trying to be really proactive with our clients to help them think about what are the things they can do that are maybe less costly. Maybe they can do some things more aggressively on the email marketing side or the digital marketing side that don't cost as much money. Especially email. If you've already got those people, what kind of messaging can you send them? How can you send sensitive messaging that also, that lets them know, hey, we understand the situation you're in, but helps them maybe start planning or thinking about those things that they want to do in the future. So work has been still a little bit of a way for me to stay somewhat normal. But then, for me, it's really about the outdoors. I don't have quite the luxury that Kaz does, but I do have some trails not far from here that I'm able to just throw the backpack on and go pretend like I'm, doing something adventurous, and then get the mountain bike out. I do get out on the water too. A week and a half ago or so, my wife and son and I did get out on the Muskegon River, which is maybe 45 minutes from my house, and took the old raft out, and we rode and did that. And I've been out on the PM a little bit, honestly, too, waiting. So, I try to still get out. I did actually go up to sorry, now I sound like I'm outside all the time. I'm really not. I'm not traveling all the time either.
But gas is so cheap.
Officer Osborn, how do you? No, I'm just telling you.
I'm just envious, man. Don't look to me for a ticket or something. I'm just jealous. Jeez.
We did go up to our property in Cadillac for a little while too, and just bang around the woods. Really, for me, I have to be outdoors, or I'm kind of climbing the walls. So even if it's just the local trails not far from my house, or if I can get up to Cadillac, pretend like I'm shed hunting, even though I never find anything, or whatever it is, just something.
Mushrooms are next.
Yeah.
Yeah, you say that you don't have the luxury that Kaz does. I'm from Houston, Texas. So for me to be able to go 20, 30 minutes up to the Rogue, to me, that's heaven. Like, this is country living to me, So,
right.
And I didn't know you lived so close, Alan. That's pretty sweet. You live actually down the street from my old house in Jenison. So that's kind of cool that we live kind of close there, but I didn't know.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. So to me, this is great. We have all the water in the rivers that are like, the Rogue, you have the Muskegon River, you have the Grand River, if you dare to do that. But we do have some rivers that are close and you can function. Like, I live in a cornfield, I just go out back and there's no one there. And being from Houston, where there's like 6 million people living on top of each other, this is like Green Acres or something. It's awesome.
Yeah, totally. Well, I think the other thing for me is, honestly, I do love reading. So this gives me an excuse to do a little bit more reading too, especially when the weather's not quite as nice. So that's another option too. It's not really a ton different than my normal everyday, but it does, I guess, give me another reason.
Yeah.
Alan is like one of the people that I can say, like,
He's well read.
I love reading too, but he crushes me in reading. I mean, just crushes me.
What do you
the
read?
Books that he's
Mostly cereal boxes.
Oh, that's cool. And John's like, you're so well read. You know, Kellogg's. You know,
Yeah.
I've seen the stuff he's reading.
Toast.
I've got Lucky Charms. I've got them all. Man. My favorite book is a book by an author from Michigan, and it's about these blocking locations all over the state of Michigan.
Oh, okay. Is the author Jon Osborn? Because I think I have that book.
That's one of them. That's one. Yeah, definitely.
Love you guys.
And you can purchase that on the links below. We'll put the links in the show notes. You can buy John's book there for sure. But anyways,
either one of them.
Yeah. What are you reading right now in this time?
Right now, I'm neck deep in the middle of a book about Alexander Hamilton. So I'm all over the place in what I like to read. I definitely, I love the stuff that you would expect, anything by McGuane or Lyons or Dabrowski or Harrison or, all the usual suspects. But I also enjoy anything that's historic. So right now I'm reading a book about Alexander Hamilton. It's a little bit of a slog. So I'm not keeping the pace that I know John expects me to, and I feel a little bit bad about it.
You set the bar high.
But are you not keeping up with that pace right now you should have, this is what gets getting at me. It's like I should be so freaking productive, and it took me like 2 or 3 days to get back to an email to you guys about this. I'm just like, I'm not in my head right now, and I'm like, why am I not way more productive? And just allowing myself to not be as productive as I think, because you think, well, right now, man, you cut back a little bit on your time, maybe, or whatever, but you should be reading like crazy, but you're not,
Yeah.
Jeff, can I butt in on that?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me just butt in on that a second, because I think that it takes a ton of energy I can tell you this, Kaz can relate with this, I'm sure, like homeschooling takes a ton of energy. Fighting fires between your kids takes a ton of energy, and then trying to ward off this I don't know, depression or anxiety and that kind of stuff, and just being denied the things that you wish that you were doing, that takes a ton of energy. Like I'm the kind of guy who likes to get up with the sun or before the sun, make a cup of coffee, 5 o'clock in the morning, start writing, start reading, that kind of stuff. I slept till 7:30 this morning. I'm exhausted for no good reason. Mm-hmm. And I think that we need to be real about the fact that it does take a ton of energy to deal with something like this, because we're out of our norm. And I am a person of norm. The older that I get, the more I love the norm. I'm serious.
Yeah.
Honestly, like I have times that I have coffee. I have times that I pick up a book. I have times that I have breakfast. I mean, like this is what I do. And when you throw that off, it kind of pisses me off. But I think we have the opportunity, us as anglers, us as people on a podcast, us as employees or bosses or anything like that. We have the opportunity to take a cup half full approach to this whole thing versus a cup half empty approach. And in my job, one of the things that we say is, panic is contagious, fear is contagious, but calm is contagious too. We can be the contagion for just like a level head, right. And if we choose to. Mm-hmm. And you might sleep longer when you try to choose to do that, because it's going to take it out of you, because everybody else around you is kind of imploding, and you're trying to convince people that it's going to be okay and just hang on and try to keep a positive attitude. That takes a lot of work to be everybody's cheerleader.
Right.
But I think it's work that we need to do.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And allowing yourself to feel that way. Like I slept till 7:30 today, so I don't feel so bad. But normally I'm up at 6. I mean, even my bowels move at the same time. So,
I was going to address that, but I stayed away from that.
Yeah, this is you can say whatever you want. You can say no. We are home of fake news and super tacky conversations. No, but I have this rhythm as well. And I slept till 7:30. I was up till 1:30 watching Narcos. I don't know if you guys watched that show on Netflix.
That's an awesome
so
series.
Good. They're gonna catch Pablo. I haven't seen him. They almost got him, so don't tell me. But I was up to like 1:30, and I'm like, I just kept watching. I'm like, Jeff, come on, dude. And I'm like, what's the point? Just watch another episode. What do you got to get? I mean, I had some stuff to do today. I'm taking an online class to kind of keep me going in life, trying to learn some stuff. But it's like, really, if I wake up at 7:30 instead of 6, is the world going to stop? And, and just allowing myself and not beating myself up over the whole thing. You just allow myself to breathe, sleep a little more, because it does. Like it does take a mental. You guys like how I talk with my hands like this? It's so dumb. I don't normally interview people face to face, and so it's kind of weird. So I see myself in the camera. I see these things moving in the corner. I'm like, God, I look like an idiot. But anyways. Well, cool. Well, thank you guys for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. Kaz,
jump back on what Alan said too, though. In our daily jobs everything's changed, but everything's still the same.
Right.
I think I find myself reaching out to more of my dealers and my clients. Like you were saying, Alan, we need to find, if we don't evolve and adapt, we're not going to make it through.
Yep.
A month ago, if you would have said the word Zoom, people would have had no idea what the hell you were talking about, and now businesses are changing. We're doing weekly Zoom meetings with Dallas and with Denver, and we're finding that there's new ways that we can conduct business, and it's going to be totally different for all of our sales. I don't have to drive to every place to show them product. I can show them virtually through, what we're doing right now. But it gets right back to being, the fly industry, just like everything in the outdoor recreation is a people business. We need to engage and be in contact with our people because they're the most important and most valuable to us, just like Alan's business is a people business. And we need to reach out to our clients and our customers and let them know that we're still here. We want you to survive. We want you to succeed. And we're going to do as much as we possibly can to help you get through this, because at the end of the day, we all make it, and that's where the positivity has to come through. It can't be all doom and gloom.
Mm-hmm.
No. And if ever there was a time to support local, right, it would be now. I mean, you should have been supporting local before this, but now if you could do it, please do it. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't this making us realize how much more important that baker down the street is, that person who makes whatever down the street is, even that much more? It's just unbelievable how much all of our small communities are jumping in, doing things to help each other. It's pretty remarkable. My daughter's upstairs right now watching the rest of Schindler's List. We started it last night, and it's part of her homework assignment. But they're gasping at some of the stuff that's going on. So this is legit. This was real.
This happened, right?
This happened, and there's a possibility. I said to Simone, my great grandfather was there, and I don't think you and I would be here if we would have gotten put on the wrong train.
Right.
And she's like, "What do you mean? We're blue-eyed." I'm like, "Doesn't matter. You're Polish. You would have been on the wrong train, honey."
Yep.
So we're not too far. We're so much. We have so much to be grateful for and thankful for that. It's a great place and a great time to be alive.
That's well said, for sure, because you can always find something great that's going on. I mean, honestly, the time that I've had with my kids, and especially my son, who was more into basketball and football than he was into the outdoors. And, I didn't want to push too hard with that. But man, he's the mushroom hunting, and he caught this lunker bass the other day, and that kind of stuff wouldn't have happened. It wouldn't have happened because he would have been thick in basketball. We had a running group and stuff like that. He would have been thick into that. I would have been thick into it because I was coaching it and all that kind of stuff. But now it's like, hey, we're going to go out to the woods. Hey, we only found 8 morels. We had a great time. Flushed some grouse, flushed a woodcock. It was cool.
Yeah, I totally. Jeff, I don't know if I sent you the article that I wrote.
Embrace the suck.
Great article.
Embrace the suck. And it was funny because I was out trying to pretend I was hiking somewhere exciting, even though I was just on the trails, not far from my backyard. It was raining and it was just crappy, and it was reminding me of some of the trips I had gone on before, and how some of them just really did suck. I mean, we got rained on in mud, and we were fighting with each other, and there was just so many bad things. And then you look back and you remember those times with actual fondness, and it's
Yep.
weird. It's kind of like the selective memory. But I think it reminded me of kind of those things that I in that article that I pointed out that I tried to put down kind of for my guiding principles of my life. And not that I always get them right, or very, very rarely get them right. But it was the idea of, to always try to choose adventure. And I think we can still do that today. It just has to look a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second one for me was to invest in the relationships that matter. And man, if we can ever do that today, now, this time,
Yep.
is when we can do that. And then the last thing was just to try to grow yourself every day, kind of mentally, physically, and emotionally. And again, we have an opportunity that we've never had before to do that. To some extent, we have more time that we can spend on ourselves, or, A for adventure, B for those relationships, but then on ourselves. We can read more, we can exercise more, we can try to make ourselves better people. And I think we can use this opportunity to do those things. And that's a way to try to kind of fight that feeling of hopelessness or depression. And so I feel it every day. I feel I'm the routine. I'm just like everyone talked about on this call, is I feel the exact same way. And then you are tired and you wonder, why the hell am I tired? I did less today than I normally do. But I think keeping yourself focused on doing those positive things helps you kind of bring up your attitude, or however you want to describe it. Just trying to the glass half full, like John said, and like Brian said, just trying to find ways to keep that glass half full. And I think, those three things, at least for me, were kind of the guiding principles. And I think all three of those really apply right now.
Yeah, we'll put a link up to that article. I appreciate it. And actually, I read you post. When did you post that up, Alan?
A month and a half ago?
What's that?
Was it like a month and a half ago?
Yeah, I don't.
A month maybe.
It was it was about a month ago.
Yeah, it was good. I enjoyed it when it came out. I saw it and went and checked it out. But yeah, and also call your friends in those relationships. I was reading an article today. There's people that are restoring relationships that they never thought would be restored, but now they have time to recount like those memories and to say, hey, it's not such a big deal, or
don't go too far back in the ex-girlfriend list.
No. Are you speaking from experience, Kaz? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I know better.
No, but even like family members, or people that
totally
came in your life. I mean, I know a few jerks that I should probably call and apologize to, but then when you're busy, I think when you're so busy, you just push things out, and I've been doing like this meditation thing, and trying to meditate on a regular basis. And I was telling my wife the other day, it's like, I'm sitting there meditating, this image just keeps coming to my head, and she's like, well, it's like a computer, you have all these tabs open, and all of a sudden all the tabs are closed but one, and all of a sudden you're like processing through that, and I think, we're closing all these tabs in society right now. We're closing the travel baseball, we're closing our religious meetings, we're closing, all this other stuff, and all of a sudden it's just like, okay, it's the four of us. So like all these tabs are closed, and now it's like, okay, we got crap to deal with, or we've got these issues that, like you said, Alan, with self-care, you're realizing emotionally, growing emotionally every day, those emotions that you may have had tied to, a decision you made years ago, or, those old baggage that you may have that you've been carrying, but you're keeping yourself busy so you don't have to deal with them. And all of a sudden they're there. And, that's got to be part of being exhausted too at the end of the day, is like, well, I've been fighting demons all day.
Yeah, right.
But
I think going back to what Alan was saying, I think about some of the testing that we put some of these new guys through when they want to get on a tactical team. You really don't care what people are doing when they're winning. You really want to see what they're doing when they're losing. Mm-hmm. And we're right now, theoretically speaking, we're losing momentarily. But we've lost some things that we would like to do. What are you going to do with that? What are people going to do with that? Are you gonna just like cave in on yourself? Are you gonna just, or are you gonna be a voice for hope, a voice for reason, a voice for calm, all these kind of things that you could be? And that's, I think, the people that are gonna rise to the top, and you see people clinging on to that because they really want a piece of that right now. And what you were saying, Alan, I'm always looking for article ideas. I know you are too. And, the whole embrace the suck thing, you hit on a really big thing there as far as we remember the memories are made of the suck and the epic, and everything else in between. That's the stuff that's lost. And so really, there are these little pinpoints, right?
Yeah.
You don't have very many epic days. You don't have a too terrible, where it just really sucks, but you have a lot of mundane.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
I remember every sucky fishing trip I've been on. I could probably recall details of hunkering down in a drift boat or, stuff like that. So I know those times. Me and accountant Phil, we do a trout camp every spring. We didn't do it this year because, I was supposed to go to Texas, but, and every year it rains at least one day and it's miserable.
Always.
Oh, we forgot to bring the rope to tie up the tarp or some bull crap like that, and those are the memories, but yes, we'll put a link up to that article. I appreciate you sharing that with us, Alan.
Yeah, great.
Well, and I plan on stealing. I love the metaphor you used of the computer with all the tabs open. I'm going to steal that. I'm not going to lie. You'll probably see that getting stolen real soon. But that's such a good metaphor for exactly what's happening, and for the idea of meditation. But really, how this has caused us to be more focused on, maybe something more singular. And I think that is really maybe the beauty of this that's hidden, behind some of the suck.
You're right.
Yeah. And people hate it. People hate to hear the optimism when they want to like just get cringy and spiteful and bitter and the whole thing. They actually hate hearing it,
right.
But I don't think that you can let that turn you away from saying, hey, it's going to be okay. You might not like to hear it. You might like to just revel in this right now. And that's okay to do for a little while, but you can't do that for months because you just can't sustain that.
Well, if you take a look at it this way, okay? If someone told you, I'm going to give you 4 weeks off to spend with your family, I'm going to send you a big check from the government. So it's like, you're going to get this, I lost my job. Well, you're going to get like more money than you were making when you were working while you're off. Like, is it really that bad? Like, you think if I told you that I'm going to hand you 10, like, let's just say $8,000, right? Between all their unemployment and you get the stimulus check, we're going to give you $8,000 cash and you can just sit there and not do anything for 2 months. Most people would be like, that's like I won the lottery, I think obviously there's stuff, there's more to it than that, especially people who are self-employed, they're losing their business. But for a majority of the people, especially the ones that complain a lot, it's like, you guys are coming out pretty good on top of all this, like let's look at those things and come out better, right? Like using those resources to take an online class or learning to tie some new flies or growing professionally and mentally. Like, you may never get this opportunity again in your life to learn something new. Like, you have this time. This is an opportunity. How are you going to come out of this? And that's what I keep telling myself. I want to come out of this better than when I went into this thing, But it's a fight.
And to add,
it's a fight.
And to add icing to the cake, you've got things like I was out hiking yesterday with my son, and you see marsh marigolds, and that Hendricksons are right around the corner. And so, yeah, we're in mud season, like Kaz says. That is a good time for this to have happened. But right around the corner, we've got Hex, we've got Drakes, we've got Sulfurs, we've got Hendricksons, we've got everything good about fishing. We've got hunting right around the corner. There's a lot to look ahead to.
Right. Any final thoughts, guys? I appreciate you guys hanging out with me. This was a lot of fun.
We'll jump back on what this opportunity gives us. Have we as a society been far too fortunate for far too long? Have we been too blessed and taken too much for granted? We brought some bread home last week, and my daughter said, I don't like that kind of bread. I said, that's the only bread they have.
Right.
And these are the days that our grandfathers went through that we didn't understand. And, I don't have an excessive amount of money in the bank, but I always save for this time of the year because it's always slow. But most people don't. Most people are living paycheck to paycheck because we max our credit cards and we're living far beyond our means. You know, we're driving, whatever, $50,000 trucks, and we all have boats and RVs and all this stuff. But we're so excessive that now we really get to scale back and look back at what really matters to us, what makes us happy, and how can we prepare ourselves for this in the future. Our kids are never going to forget this.
Right.
They're never going to forget how we handle this situation. I'm building a deck outside, and I'm going to call it the Corona deck. And that's just the way it is. So yeah, it's a time to build. It's a time to work on yourself. It's a time to improve, or you can make the other choice. And that's not a good place, nowhere I want to be.
What about you?
I got noticed that deck was on hold. Someone told me that deck got put on hold.
It did. There's some snow. Well, then I got the notice I could still go buy wood. I bought wood, and then I got 6 inches of snow.
Yeah, you got a decent amount of snow there.
Yeah, we did. Yes. It'll be gone by Sunday. We're talking 55 degrees again.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's no mushrooms happening yet either.
No.
No marsh marigolds either.
I had to go pretty far south for that, but not far enough to be in violation of anything, I can assure you.
Gotcha. Well, I hope that you guys are going to be able to come up and join me for hex season when it happens. So that's my glass is half full.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Alan?
For sure.
I don't have any brilliant thoughts of my own, but I had stumbled across. I'm a big Ed Abbey fan. I don't know if everybody loves Ed Abbey, but he's one of my favorite people. I love his writing. I love Desert Solitaire, and I was kind of looking through some of his writing today, and it obviously was written for an entirely different purpose. But he has a quote. It's fairly long, but I'll read it. I feel like it applies, and I'll read it if you're okay with that.
Absolutely.
So it says, one final paragraph of advice. Do not burn yourselves out. Be as I am, a reluctant enthusiast, a part-time crusader, a half-hearted fanatic. Save the other half of yourselves and your lives for pleasure and adventure. It is not enough to fight for the land. It is even more important to enjoy it while you can, while it's still here. So get out there and hunt and fish and mess around with your friends. Ramble out yonder and explore the forests, climb the mountains, bag the peaks, run the rivers, breathe deep of that yet sweet and lucid air. Sit quietly for a while and contemplate the precious stillness, the lovely, mysterious, and awesome space. Enjoy yourselves. Keep your brain in your head and your head firmly attached to the body active and alive. And I promise you this much. I promise you this one sweet victory over our enemies, over those desk-bound men and women with their hearts in the safe deposit box and their eyes hypnotized by desk calculators. I promise you this, you will outlive the bastards.
Amen.
That's awesome.
That was a mic drop right there.
There you go.
Yeah, I wish I could take credit for any part of it, but Abby just nails it in his typical angst-filled way.
For sure.
Well read, anyway.
Sure.
Yep.
What about you, John? Any final words?
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that, as much as we want to preach the gospel of optimism here, there are people that are really struggling at the same time. And if you can deliver a loaf of bread, even if the people don't like that kind, or a roll of teepee, or, even just something like a Zoom meeting or something like that, seek those people out and find ways to lift them up, I guess.
Yeah. Definitely call your friends, check on them, check on your friends. And speaking of which, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. We'll put links up to True North Trout. We'll put links up to your business there, Alan, and also to your books as also, John. But they're in the show notes. I really appreciate you guys hanging out with me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been good for my soul to be encouraged with you guys. It wasn't just a gripe fest. We could have easily went there, but I just really appreciate the positivity, and I look forward to fishing the Drake. And this time though, Kaz, unlike last time with the Count Phil, we didn't get a place to stay. This time I will have a place to stay because I'm not driving home and working a full shift the next day. So that's
that was rough.
Is what it is. You gotta embrace the suck.
Those were the moments where you embrace the suck.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah. Phil was driving. I slept a lot on the way home. I tried to stay awake. And it is what it is. So really, Phil embraced a lot more suck than I did. But we'll never forget the road trip back at 4 a.m. That's for sure. But
wow.
Oh, you never do.
well, all right, guys. Y'all have a great night. Thank y'all again. We'll post this up. We may post it up this Sunday. I got another episode in the can, but we may push this one out. This one's a little more time sensitive than the other one. So,
you don't want to have this thing be done next week
in August. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. All for nothing.
Wait, we're all immune.
Yeah. No.
We're good.
Jeff, thanks for putting it together. I mean, like all of you guys, great idea. I mean, it's good for me too, I think community is important. And I think, a community like this is good to realize it's not like on hold, fully on hold, we can still engage like this, and that's good for everybody. So
yeah, that's great. Well, great. Well, we'll talk to you guys soon. And thanks again for hanging out with me.
Yep. Thank you, Jeff.
Likewise. Thanks.
Have a good night, guys.
Yep. See ya.
All right.
Well, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us at the Remote No Pressure Podcast. I hope everyone's doing great. I hope everyone's staying positive, and we're going to get through this, aren't we, Bill?
Yeah, mostly. Bill,
by the way, your shadow, your 5 o'clock shadow has turned into like a midnight werewolf, dude.
Oh, I know, and I've brought it down a couple of times. I shaved it completely off at the beginning of this.
Did you really?
I did, and trimmed it a few times. But yeah, it's the full beard. I cut the neck down too.
You gonna grow it out like ZZ Top type of thing, or?
I don't think so. I don't have that kind of facial hair to support that.
Neither do I. Look like Patch Adams. That's what that's what I always say. But thank you guys so much for hanging out with us this week on the Remote No Pressure Podcast. Be sure to check out our website. We have a lot of decals. We have the Sasquatch proof buff. We're willing to back that 100% guarantee that you will not get attacked by a Sasquatch.
That's right.
CDs. We've got streaming music. We got it all there at the Remote No Pressure. Go to remotenopressure.com. Also, be sure to follow us on our Facebook, our Instagram, our our YouTube channel.
Whoa.
Our YouTube channel. Circa 1993 at yahoo.com. I can always tell when someone started using the computer by their email address.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're like Yahoo.com.
You still see a few Hotmails once in a while?
I haven't seen a Hotmail in a long time. Or a Juno?
Or at AOL?
At AOL. Oh my gosh. My sister-in-law got in trouble for taking that AOL out of the mailbox when she was a kid before her parents saw it and signed up for it. And like you had to pay for minutes or hours or whatever.
Yep.
Funny. She'd kill me if she knew I was talking about her.
That's how they got you back in the day.
Yes, exactly. But you had to get off the internet to use the phone. Remember that? Those days? I don't know.
Yep.
I had Juno. I had the free Juno account.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember what it was called up here. It's like Net Zero or something like that.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Net Zero. I forgot about that. Mm-hmm. Well, thankful that we can stream awesome podcasts like the Remote No Pressure, and we can do what we want on the internet still while we can. And but yeah, thank you guys so much for joining us. Bill, thank you for hanging out with me this week.
Oh, always a pleasure.
All right. Until next time, if it's legal, try to go fishing.